Hello teens, I hope you're all doing very well. I'm happy to be back doing the Genesis lessons after a while. And on Sunday we had a Kahoot game and a video call, and we have 3 winners for the Genesis lessons Kahoot. So instead of 2, I chose to go ahead and do 3. So it's Eva, Debbie, and Sebastian, so first, second, and third place. And they're each going to get a prize in the mail for completing and placing the top scores, because they are the only ones that competed, so they by default became first, second, and third place. So I'm excited to get those prizes for them 3 and send it out, and I just want to say good job. And to the rest of you, you will have another opportunity when we get through more chapters in Genesis, and I can make another Kahoot about that. Okay, so today we're going to study Genesis 15, and the title is the Lord's Covenant with Abram, or God's Covenant with Abram. And the word covenant we've studied a little bit before, but as we go through this, you'll see what it means, and I'll keep explaining. Last time, Abram rescued Lot out of almost death experience, and we got to experience the first fight, like the first war in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. So make sure you go watch that video. So let's go ahead and start, and we're going to say our prayer. Psalm 119:18. Open my eyes that I may see wonderful things in your law. Okay, Genesis 15. After this, after all the events, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. So basically, God's like, I'm your great reward. I'm going to bless you. And obviously, blessing was meaning more of like throughout, like through your kids, you're going to be blessed. And so Abram's like, how am I going to be blessed if I can't have kids? So him and Sarah could not have kids. By default, in this time, their chief servant would end up taking care of them, like if he was their child or their son, and then he would inherit everything. And Abram, as we discussed before, was wealthy. He had a lot of land, a lot of things, and that's actually why him and Lot had to get separated, and then Lot made that bad decision. Again, that's in the last video. Okay, verse 4, Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir. So heir means your son, you're someone that inherits everything, that gets everything once you die. That's the person, that's your heir. He's like, that's not going to be your heir. But a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, God took Abram outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars. And if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Offspring are kids, generation, kids. Look up to the sky and count the stars. Can you count the stars? I don't think anyone can count the stars. So that's kind of what God is trying to tell him, like, your generation, like, you are going to have so many descendants. And obviously this is not literal. It's something, well, in a way it's literal, but his blood would be passed on and on and on. And we'll get to that in a little bit, okay? Verse 6, Abram believed the Lord, and God, and he, God, being God, credited to him as righteousness. And I was reading earlier about this verse, and it's actually probably one of the most important verses in the Bible. Some Bible scholars, some Bible people who study the Bible, who are very educated in it, they think that this is one of the most important, because it required faith. And Abram was showing this faith. And if you read Hebrews 11, which you should all probably go check out, it's like very few verses, and it just talks about the hall of faith. The hall of faith is what they call it. And Abram is top. He's like, I think he's the first one. So yeah, this is the first time faith is being credited, okay? Verse 7, He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. So God's just reminding him what he did for him. Verse 8, but Abram said, Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? Well, verse 9, so the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram. So heifer is probably like some type of knife to cut things. I'll try to add a picture if I find it. A goat and a ram, 2 animals, each 3 years old, so they're kind of babies, along with a dove and a young pigeon. So two birds and 2 livestock type of animals. Verse 10, Abram brought all these to him, cut them in 2, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, on the animals being cut in half, but Abram drove them away. So this is the part where the covenant comes into play. So a covenant is kind of like a law, like they're instituting some type of law, and this is between God and Abram. And so back in the day, their tradition was to cut up these animals, and the party would agree that if they both kept their side of the covenant, of the promise, then they would be fine. But if they didn't, they would end up how the animals are cut in half. And I will be making a video about Old Testament, especially in the books the chapters we studied, and how their traditions come into play and how they don't make sense to us, but it's important to study them. So I'm going to make a separate video on that will come soon, and so I will explain more of that after I keep studying and make sure that it's true. But for now, yeah, that's like the literal actual covenant, like they're just doing the animal thing which I just explained. Alright, so verse 12, and as the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. So he's probably maybe sweating, tired. Thick and dreadful darkness. Sounds kind of harsh. Verse 13, and the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Verse 14, but I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. So after God's like, I'm your greatest reward, I'm going to give you so many kids, even though you can't actually have kids. We'll see how that plays next chapter. And he's like, but your generation for the next 400 years are going to be slaves and live really harshly. And he's going to punish the place, like the land, that the nation that oppresses Abram's descendants. So Abram's descendants are Israel, and 400 years includes a lot of different nations that captured Israel and really punished them. And I think Egypt is probably one of the biggest ones. But we will find that out together as we read Genesis. And again, I'm learning in this process. I don't know, I mentioned that. Like, I'm learning Genesis with all of you, so we're just going on and studying, okay? Verse 15, you, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. So that's kind of like Abram's reward for being so faithful. 16, in the 4th generation, your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. So 4th generation is going to come back to the place where Abram is right now, which is Canaan. Verse 17, when the sun had set and the darkness had fallen, a smoking fire pot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, to your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. So that, how the blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. So that's God cutting the animals in his side to fulfill his part of the covenant action. Obviously, God keeps his promises. We know this. Thousands of years later, God still keeps the promises. Like the rainbow that we just studied a few chapters ago. So this was Genesis chapter 15, and it needs a lot more explanation that I can't cover in such a little bit of time. So I'm gonna cut it off here, and then I'm gonna make an add-on video to explain a lot of culture and backgrounds and maps. But I hope that you learned something new. And this week I'm going to do a memory verse, which is gonna be Genesis 15:1. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. So that is your memory verse, and I will ask you for it. So make sure you memorize it by next week. All right. So goodbye to everyone. And all you have to comment today is that Bible verse, Genesis 15:1. And yeah, I'll just make sure that you watch the video till the end. So I'm excited to hopefully see most of you in person. I've gotten to see a few of you in person, but seeing all of you in person and getting to somewhat normal, hopefully church will be a little bit more normal soon. But I definitely miss having you guys in class. I miss coming up with the lessons and like bringing visuals and bringing snacks and giving you rewards in person. And it's been a hard time, but if we think about it, it's more important for us to stay home than for people to pass away and for people to get sick. So I hope you're all doing good. This is hard for everyone. If you're having a really hard time and you feel unmotivated, you can reach out to me. Sometimes I'm having some rough times too, but I can be of help. If you have any questions, you can always contact me. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on Sunday.